Anyways, so we're on part 2 of 2C.5. If you weren't here in the beginning of class, I said that 2C.5 part 1 that we didn't finish. I made the video, I posted it, and you need to watch examples 6 through 8 on your own, okay? In order for us to stay on track, we're going to have to keep pushing through, okay? Now we're at calculator part of this lesson, and you can either grab a calculator so you can practice the skills, or if you're just wanting to calculate, you can use your computer to calculate, but so that you can have it for the test and be used to the skill, you may want to grab a handheld calculator. For handheld calculators, if you want to check out one of the free ones that you can take home, please let me know at the end of class, because our next 2 sections are pretty calculator heavy, okay? You just bring it back at the end of the year. No, who has one? Caroline, do you have one? Or is it Anna has one? It's like well, I'm saying what it looks like. It's just it's basically, it's the one that you see on my computer. Minus, it's just not, it doesn't have some of the things. But anyways, here we go. So up first here, we have e to the 2x minus 3e to the x minus 4 equals 0. And our goal here is to figure out what x is. Now, a lot of times what we fail to realize is that some of what we see are things that we already know how to do, okay? How many of you remember quadratic functions? Do you remember quadratic equations and how we solve them? Through factoring, right? So this is a situation of where your prior knowledge comes into handy, okay? When you get into calculus, you're going to learn of what's called U substitution, okay? U substitution is different in calculus, but ultimately what it's saying is that you're letting the variable u equal the whole function of something. So in this case, if we let u equal e to the x, everywhere that there's an e to the x is going to be placed with a u. So this becomes u squared minus 3u minus 4 equals 0. Who? Okay. Now, by replacing this with u, I now can easily see that this is just quadratic, right? What multiplies to give me -4, but adds to give me -3? What two numbers? Oh, what kind of 1 and 1 and 4? What kind of 1 and 4? A -4, because I need my result to be negative. So it would be u minus 4 and u plus 1 equals 0. That means u equals what? Exactly. Look at you killing it. So we get u equals 4 and we get u equals -1, which means now we're going to go back to being a exponential. What does u equal? What do we say u equaled? E to the x. So we have e to the x equals 4 and we have e to the x equals -1. This one can't happen, not possible. So we're done, right? Because this will produce an extraneous solution. That's because your negative cannot have your exponential can't have a negative result. Does that make sense? So this one, we would stop. However, this one we can continue to solve. And how do I solve that? We're going to take the oh my gosh, look at you. We're going to take the natural log. In order to cancel out e, we take the natural log. I'm going to take the natural log of e. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So this cancels. I'm left with x equals the natural log of 4. And that is my exact answer. We're going to approximate it. Okay, so exact. Now we're going to go find our approximate. So that's our exact. So if you're on a non-calculator test, this is what they're wanting you to put as your answer. Does that make sense? Non-calculator, this is where you stop. Calculator, you're going to continue. I'm going to go to my handy dandy Sylvie, turn her on, Sylvie, the calculator? Did he just walk out? No. Oh, okay. Ooh. Andrew. No, he literally went to the left and out the red door. I heard it open. Okay, that really was so weird. And I see him walking. I can't do math. Like, okay. Okay. Like, all right. So, my approximate value would be 1 in. There we go. Okay. How do we feel about putting it in to approximate? All right. Now it says we're going to support our answer graphically. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. When you're supporting your answer graphically, that means you're going to y equals. You're putting your left side in as your y1, your right side in as your y2, and you're going to look for the what? Intersection. So I'm going to put in second e to the 2x minus second e, oh, forgot my 3 second e to the x minus 4. And then I'm going to put in y2 is 0. It's e to the 2x minus 3e to the x. My exponents aren't negative. Oh, well, I was trying to make two on the thing. Oh. And now I'm going to go to graph. Because my right-hand solution is 0. Yeah. There's going to be a 0. See my red line? So you're going to go second, trace, 5. Is this the graph? Is this the graph? You want me to guess? Yes. And it's going to think. And were we right? We're geniuses. Okay. So that's how, if it's, you can graphically prove that you are correct. After you did all your math, like, man, I don't know if I did this right. Well, did you? Yes. Second 5, enter, enter, enter. And do I need to, like, where do I put the just hit enter. Oh, I don't enter. Okay. All right. Are we good? Okay. So we verified, supported graphically. We're geniuses. All right. Now, let's do this again. Again, we're going to use u substitution. So we let u equal e to the x. So we're going to rewrite this in terms of u's. Because it breaks it down and makes it look like algebra instead of a whole lot of extra. So it's more appeasing to solve. Does that make sense? Oh. Wait, how would we, yeah, how would we write it? Yeah, because there is a negative x. What do you mean? We're just gonna put in the denominator. We're gonna, what does the negative power mean? It's just gonna go in the denominator. All right. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and move my 2 to the other side. Is that cool? Before I even write it in terms of u. So it becomes 16. So we're gonna have u minus, and like Lydia said, it's 1 over u. Why is it 1 over u? It's negative. I don't like writing u, so you just write like e to the x squared. If you want to leave it in terms of that, and then you can work it normal. Yeah, if it doesn't bother you, won't bother me. All right, so now we're here. And our goal is to, how would you solve if this was x? So normally to solve, you got to make it into one fraction, right? How can I combine this into one fraction? Common denominator. I need to make it have the same denominator. So if I give this to u in the denominator, I have to make what in the numerator? This has to become u squared. Does that make sense? Are you still with me? Okay. So now we have u squared minus 1 equals 16 all over u. Because once their denominator is the same, you can combine the numerators. How can I get my variable out of the denominator? I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply u, and now I'm left with u squared minus 1 equals 16u. Or I need to make, this is now what? What's my power? It's just now a quadratic all over. There you go. Equals 0. When multiplies to give you -1 and adds to give you -16, is that possible? That is not possible. So when factoring doesn't work, who do we call on? The quadratic formula. Sing it with me. Here we go. We are going to sing x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Hey, okay. It's not the worst song ever. It's our friend, you haters. So we have x equals a negative times a negative is a positive. So -16 plus or minus the square root of b squared. I'm not going to have enough room to write this. I didn't plan this out well. Minus 4ac all over keeping hope alive. I told you I didn't plan this well. That 1 times -1. A negative times a negative is a. In this case, it's not an x, it's a u. Bad Jones. U. Anyways, a negative times a negative is a positive. Because we're not solving for x, we're solving for u. Yeah. Do we have any x's on here? Nope. Wait, what is that? B squared minus 4ac. B squared minus 4ac. What is b? -16. What is a? Uno. What is c? -1. So it's just weird. That was really weird. Like, he was upset. Like, we just like shut the door and it was like, wait, he's gone. And he just walked in. All right. Not yet. Don't. -4 times 1 times -1. All right, what's 16 squared? 256. Is that what I heard? And -4 times 1 times -1 is +4. All over 2. So u equals 16 plus or minus the square root. Oh, got a little funky. Now, I personally would hope that they would not give you this on a non-calculator. I would hope they wouldn't, but I wanted to make sure that this is the extent of how hard it would get. Does that make sense? Again, I hope that they wouldn't do it to you. That they wouldn't. All right, so we're at plus or minus 260. Well, 260 is not a perfect square, but 260 can break down. So in my brain, I would try to break down 260. What multiplies to give me 260? 13 and 20. What did you say? 26 and 10. That breaks down. Okay. But if I do 13 and 20, that means there's a 4 in there, right? Let's do that one. If you don't remember how to break down thingy-boppers numbers, if you have 13 and 20, 13 is prime, so you leave it alone. Does that make sense? 20 is 4 and 5, so 5 again, you're going to leave it alone. But you can take the square root of 4. And what is the square root of 4? 2. So what's left on the inside? And that makes what? That does not make 18. It's multiplication. 65. There we go. So we have 2 square root of 65 all over 2. So my final and exact answer would be u equals 8 plus or minus the square root of 65. Well, that's not exact because we got to bring back EX. Dang it. I didn't play this out. I told y'all. Don't walk out. I said hopefully it becomes a calculator problem, because if it's calculator, all you're doing is what? Plugging it in. We're going to go over that. All right, so e to the x, again, in order to get x by itself, we have to take the what? The natural log, right? How do I get rid of e? Natural log. How do I get rid of e? Let's try it again. How do we get rid of e? Natural log. Thank you. So x equals the natural log of, there's 8, and I'm only going to be the positive, not the negative. Why am I not going to use the negative? It's extraneous. But that would be my exact answer. This is if they did not give you a calculator, right? If this is on the calculator section, all you have to do is plug it in. Go to your handy dandy calculator. I'm going to turn on Sylvie. I'm going to go to Y1. I'm going to put in e to the x, second natural log, x, arrow over, minus second natural log, negative x, and it's going to equal 16. Does that make sense? Because it would be a negative result. Like if I took the square root of 65, it's going to be smaller than 8, and they'll make a negative result. Does that make sense? It'll be greater than 8 because 64 is 8. So therefore the square root of 65 has to be greater than. So using math logic. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change my window because I know that my Y max is at 10 and I needed to be at least 16. Does that make sense? Otherwise, I cannot touch that. So I'm going to make it into 20. I'm going to hit graph. I'm going to let Sylvie draw. She draws real slow. Very slow. I don't know why she draws so slow. But don't worry. She gets the job done. She's loyal. Bam. Okay. So what do I press here? Second, trace, 5. You want this graph? Oh, you want this graph? Oh, you really want me to guess? Yes. And that would be your approximate value. So my approximate would be 2.7765. You shouldn't. It won't work. I was doing a problem last night and it was like, oh. You just got to arrow up. You arrow up to the next graph. Yeah. It's enter, up, enter, up. Forgot about that. Yeah. Once I upgraded Sylvie, you know, I got a little fancy on you. Got a little fancy. All right. So our approximate, according to Sylvie, is 2.7765. Huh? I was just checking yourself. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If it says support your answer graphically, do you have to like draw it or just like do it? Yep. Like we respond to I guess you could draw a little sketch of what's there. Based on the intersection, I don't know. Remember, I don't know how they're gonna. If it's a free response, I would assume you would have to express. I would just draw a little sketch. I will literally draw what's on the calculator, and whether you trust my beautiful artwork or not, that's my graphical support. You get what I'm saying? All right. Y equals. Oh, because I didn't want to have to make a fraction, so I just went ahead and moved the 2. Remember, I said at the beginning, I'm just gonna go ahead and make this 8 times 2, so it'd be 16. Yeah. I could have put it as is and kept it at 8, but I just didn't want to make a fraction. What did you plug into the Y equals? into the y equals, I plugged in the numerator equals 16 to verify graphically that I did it correct.